Hey, I know you're scared. I know there's a tornado kicking up in your chest sometimes. I know that it's a lot of pain and turmoil. By the end of this video, I want you to have everything you need to start feeling so much better. I'm not some rando on YouTube. I mean, I am a rando on YouTube, but I also have a background in nutritional therapy and yoga, personal training, spiritual development. I've trained with Buddhist monks. I've trained with spiritual masters. I've trained with meditation teachers. I trained with Dr. Richard Miller and Stephanie Lopez of the iRest Institute. I trained with Dr. Scott Lyons. I trained with Dr. Peter Levine. I've trained with lots of different amazing teachers. And I love helping other people to heal themselves the way that I healed myself. I know exactly what it feels like to have a tornado kicking up in your chest and your diaphragm, and to hear the noises around you, and to be feeling like a raw nerve, and to be worried about every little thing, and to get your mind stuck in thought loops, and the nightmare of anxiety. I understand the nightmare of anxiety. I'm a smart individual, and I knew that this was not the way I wanted to keep living my life. And I eventually got to a rock bottom place when I started developing autoimmune issues, where I had to make a change, where I had to shift. I had to decide this is not the energetic state that I want to be living in anymore. So that's just a little bit of background, and I'm only sharing that with you because where I'm at now is a completely different planet than where I was before. And you too, I promise you, can get there. The reason I know you can get there is because you're a human being, and it's in your birthright. You've got a nervous system that gives you the ability to be in a state of ease and flow. And I'm going to teach you how to use your nervous system today, in addition to some other things. First things first, we have to understand the beast of anxiety and what's going on here. The beast of anxiety works on many different levels. It works on the body, mind, and spirit level. Part of the way that it works is once we get into an anxiety loop, whether it's something we've had in childhood or something we were kind of inherited genetically, who knows? It doesn't really matter. It does not matter the story of how it ends up happening. What does happen though is your nervous system gets stuck and trained into a state of sympathetic state. It gets trained into a sympathetic state. So you are constantly feeling like that state of fear and fight or flight and stress. You've got a vagus nerve going from behind your eyes all the way down your tailbone. That vagus nerve helps to regulate your nervous system. This is called polyvagal theory, by the way. The vagus nerve helps us to regulate our nervous system, and most of us have a very lazy, unmyelinated vagus nerve. But that's step one, is knowing that there's a part of this that is physical in nature. It doesn't really so much have to do with brain chemistry. Your brain chemistry is an infinitesimal part of what's going on here, but there's a physical component that has to do with your nervous system being dysregulated, being trained to be in the sympathetic state, and your vagus nerve is not myelinated enough. This is not toned enough. It's not conditioned enough. So your system is either in state of depression or shut down, which was what was happening to me. It was either depression and shutdown, completely inoperable, or sympathetic. Everything's an emergency. Can't go out to restaurants. Everything's triggering my nervous system because the vagus nerve is not balanced. So we have to balance the vagus nerve, and I'm going to talk about the steps later on, but I want to get to the basic meat and potatoes to help you understand what's happening with your body. Your vagus nerve is unconditioned. Next thing that's happening is you've got a gut-brain axis. Your gut and your brain talk to each other. Also, 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. So part of the anxiety process is, like we talked about before, it's not so much about brain chemistry. People always want to go straight to the brain chemistry issues. What's happening a lot of the times is this is a gut issue, a disrupted gut microbiome. That is terrible for the gut-brain axis. You're also not able to synthesize serotonin properly. You're also, the little serotonin you are synthesizing in your brain, it's not really working. There's not a healthy highway happening here. So we have to heal and seal the gut. Again, I'm not going to give you the steps just yet. I'm giving you what's happening. Another aspect that's happening is we've gotten our mind has now gotten trained to think fear thoughts. The nervous system and the emotions and all this energy is built up in our system, and that impacts the way our mind sees the world. And then your mind is giving you fear thoughts. It's throwing fear thoughts at you. It's defaulting to the fear thoughts. This is a default mode of the mind. Even the healthiest nervous systems, the mind tends to a negativity bias. Those of you who struggle with anxiety and your nervous system's dysregulated, it's going to amplify this. So not only do you have the physical manifestations and the energetics of fear, you've got the mind stuff happening. You've got the fear thoughts putting logs onto the fear fire. And then we're trying to reason with the thoughts and all this stuff. So that's another thing that's happening. Another thing that's happening, see, this is building upon, this is a mountain that we've created in our minds. This is a mountain it's a false mountain. There's nothing actually happening. There's no real threat or danger. But we've created this mountain with all these different imbalances. So the next thing that's happening is an energetic backlog. We have an energetic backlog of fear inside of our body. This is caused by suppression and not feeling the fear. So we have a fear of the fear, which we'll get into. Again, I'm just covering the basics here. I'm just letting you know what's going on. So we have got an energetic backlog of the fear. So far, we've got some physical imbalances, some nervous system imbalances, some gut-brain axis stuff happening, some negative thoughts, and a backlog of fear happening on a constant basis, boiling over. It's stuck in your system, right? And then the last thing we have is a disconnection from reality. A disconnection from reality. A disconnection from what's real and what's true. We're not in the present moment. We're not living right here deeply in the present moment. We've departed from the present moment. If we're really truly deeply in the present moment, we cannot experience fear. There's no fear to be had unless you lived in the prehistoric era. There's no lions that are chasing us. Even if you're in financial ruin, even if your house is about to get repossessed, even if your car is about to get towed. You know, these things that, yeah, they're not pleasant, but there's no life, your life isn't in danger in any of these situations. If you're in the very present moment and we're not adding story to the situation, 99 times out of 100, the fear is way less, so much less. So that's kind of an amalgam of the fear state, of the chronic anxiety state in a nutshell. So this is why we can't just take an approach to anxiety that you take a bunch of pills and it goes away. That's not how it works. It can't work like that. That's never going to solve the problem because that's not where the problem lives. The anxiety playbook is chipping away at one little thing at a time, doing one little thing at a time, doing one little thing at a time, managing your nervous system, myelinating your vagus nerve, eating the right foods to heal your gut, helping your brain chemistry with the right foods, helping your nervous system to stay in a state of rest and digest and calm and ease. We have to train the mind to think positive thoughts, and we have to train ourselves to be more in the present moment. Let's start with the vagus nerve and myelinating the vagus nerve. I'm going to give you a couple practices to start myelinating your vagus nerve now. The practice of yoga myelinates your vagus nerve. The fact that your vagus nerve goes from behind your eyes all the way down your tailbone. An important part of yoga is where your drishti is. So the drishti being where you look. If you've ever been to a yoga class, you'll notice that they say eyes to your thumb, or eyes to the tip of your nose, or eyes to your navel. All of these different eye movements help to condition the vagus nerve. Also, the bending and the twisting and anything that gets your eyes past the midline of your body conditions the vagus nerve. 10 minutes of yoga is enough to start myelinating your vagus nerve, to get your vagus nerve conditioned so that your nervous system is in a seesaw of shutdown and hyperarousal. Yoga is really great for this. Also, another thing that we can do is start practicing the vagus nerve conditioning practices of somatics and somatic releasing. We can define somatics as your body's expression of the energies that are in your system. So your body's expressions of the energies that are in your system. So we can do an intuitive movement session, and I'm going to move you down here. And here's what it looks like. It looks like this. You spend, when you notice you've got a backlog of fear, you spend about, 5 or so minutes just moving your arms and in your body and your torso in whatever way feels right to you. I learned this from Dr. Scott Lyons, whose specialty is healing the nervous system. And so you put on some music, maybe we can call this dancing, but it's a little bit different than dancing because it doesn't matter how you look. You're just moving your body. You're just moving your body and you're being crazy with it, and it might look ridiculous and you might end up on the floor just kind of kicking and screaming. And that's a somatic practice. And that helps to discharge some of that energy from your nervous system. So we can even start with something like a yoga session and then a somatic releasing. And we can call this intuitive movement or intuitive flow. That's just one little aspect of the somatic kind of releasing practice. Another last thing I wanted to give you for somatic and vagus nerve conditioning is the humming. And this is also a yogic practice, but this is something that I learned from Dr. Peter Levine. Peter Levine specializes in trauma therapy and balancing the nervous system. And it's the use of mantra or sound to innervate or to activate the vagus nerve. So we can do something like Om, Om. Or we can do Vu. He actually prefers Vu because it doesn't have any spiritual connotation. So Dr. Peter Levine actually uses Vu. So go ahead and try it now. Don't just watch it. Try it. It doesn't even matter if you're humming. That vibration tones and myelinates the vagus nerve. Another thing we can do for this is put our hands over our ears. And that actually helps to really experience and put the nervous system in like a warm bath for the vagus nerve. There's thousands of these little somatic and vagus nerve activations that help to balance the nervous system. Let's talk about healing the gut, and let's talk about food. Okay, we're in the kitchen now, and I'm going to talk to you about healing and sealing the gut-brain axis. That's going to help your serotonin to get to adequate status. It's going to help your gut-brain axis so that you feel better. You're going to start getting more serotonin in there. And it's also your diet is a huge part of your brain chemistry, of how your neurotransmitters are working. So first things first, the first thing I want to offer you, it's not so much what we're going to be eating. I'm going to tell you what to eat in a minute to help anxiety, to help to heal it. But what's more important is what not to eat and what not to take in. So alcohol is out. It's terrible for anxiety. Wine even too. Let's get rid of it. It's terrible for your dopamine centers. It's terrible for your brain chemistry. It's just not great if you're in a state of anxiety. It's not good. Coffee, also, get it out of there. Enough with the coffee. We want to balance our nervous system, and we want to train our nervous system to be in a state of calm and ease. And I know these things aren't fun to hear. I know it. But eliminating coffee is going to help your nervous system a great deal, and it's going to help chip away at the energy of anxiety. Another thing we got to eliminate is grains. So grains are a huge trigger for anxiety. Carbohydrates, processed carbohydrates and grains are a huge trigger for anxiety. If you've got anxiety, you might have a blood sugar dysregulation issue, and that is like kerosene for anxiety. If you're already prone to having anxiety, we don't want to put kerosene on it with processed carbohydrates. So this means cookies, crackers, chips, you name it, desserts, noodles, grains, anything, bread, pasta. All that stuff is not great for anxiety. So those are the big major ones. If you want more information about how to heal with food, I've got a whole course called Heal with Food, how to heal with food. If you want to get healing with food, you can go to brendaturner.com/heal. And that course is all about how to heal anything, including anxiety, with food. Those are just basically the nutritional principles that are optimal for human beings. No grains, no dairy, no gluten, no junk food, Lots and lots of nutrients, giving your brain and your gut lots of nutrients, lots of vegetables. Just to sum it up for you in case you don't feel like buying the course, lots and lots of nutrients, getting lots of vegetables, lots of leafy greens, lots of healthy proteins, lots of omega-3s. I want to show you this, talking about omega-3s. This is something that we can eat every day. This is a can of sardines. Nobody likes sardines. You know, I love sardines. But if you can get some boneless, skinless sardines in your diet, or some canned mackerel, or some canned salmon, or eat smoked salmon, getting omega-3s in your diet helps with the EPA and DHA in your brain, which helps your brain to just feel and operate and function in a healthier way. The omega-3s, the fatty fish, keeping your carbs pretty low. Only eat carbohydrates around your workouts. That is a really good way to keep your blood sugar balanced. The rest of the time, don't worry about eating carbs. You don't really need them. If you're not exercising, you're not using your muscles, then we don't need to eat carbohydrates. And this is gonna go a long way towards healing your anxiety. Now we're gonna talk about exercise. So this is part of the nervous system discharge. We gotta move our body every day. If you're prone to anxiety, the good Lord has given you a surplus of energy, and we've got to spend it every day. And a really great way to do this is vigorous exercise every day, every morning, starting with some jump roping, starting with some running, starting with some swimming, starting with whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Get to the gym or go outside or go to the YMCA. Just get your heart rate up, because that discharges that cortisol, that discharges that excess energy. And that's fantastic for managing the overflow of anxiety. Okay, this next part, the energetic backlog of anxiety. This is what I believe to be the ultimate kind of cure for anxiety. And this was taught to me by the late, great David Hawkins. He didn't teach it to me directly, but I got it from his book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, and Healing and Recovery. So the pathway of releasing and letting go is the process of letting the energy of fear come up. So half of the reason that anxiety is a problem is because we're resisting the anxiety. So there's anxiety present. I do not want to be feeling it. I'm terrified of it. And so there's a fear of the fear. That's what anxiety is. Anxiety can be summed up in this. It's a fear of the fear. So you've got a big, huge layer of fear on top of your fear. And it's really, that's the main thing. If we take away the fear of the fear, then it's just kind of a nothing burger. Here it is in a nutshell. I want to go over this with you. This is not a meditation, though it could be used in meditation. So I want you right now to feel whatever it is you're feeling. Notice whatever sensations are happening in your body. We don't have to label it. You could call it fear and anxiety, but we don't have to label it. But notice that it's there. So it's there. Here's fear. And we don't try to change it or fix it. We're just with it. We're just with the fear and anxiety. We're just allowing it to be there, and we're really going into welcoming it with open arms. So welcoming it. It's this. It's an attitude of going like this. Not resisting it, not trying to change it or fix it, not trying to suppress it. You're just letting it be there and do its thing. And eventually what happens is it runs its course. So if we take this stance, every time that anxiety arises, eventually it dissipates. And eventually your relationship with this energy is such that it's just moving past and through you. It doesn't get stuck, because every time we resist it and we don't want to feel it and we wish it wasn't there, it's stuck. It doesn't move through. We're not actually feeling it. We're resisting it. We're distracting ourselves from it. We're pissed off at it. So letting it move through is the key. It is the way. Let's move on to the thoughts. The thoughts that we carry on a day-to-day basis do not matter. The thoughts that we have about our fear do not matter. The thoughts that the fear generates does not matter. This is so important. I cannot overemphasize this enough. I want to get closer to you. Whatever the anxiety is telling you to worry about, whatever the anxiety is really telling you, no, 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 but this one's important, this situation, this one, this energy, this fear, this time, this, you got to worry about this. Please worry about it. It's all a lie. So you can just let go of all the thoughts, all of them. They're all unproductive. They are all pointless. They are all ruminating, time wasting, energy draining vampires. The thoughts that come with the anxiety, they do not matter. So you can thank your thoughts. We don't want to suppress the thoughts. They're definitely going to still be happening, but we can make sure that we're not up in our heads thinking about things. So we have to start ignoring the thoughts, and replacing negative thoughts when we notice them with positive thoughts. What if this happens? What if I'm ruined? What if in the future sometime I'll be homeless? What if I'm going to be in poverty? Then you can counter that with, but what if I'm not? What if I end up being a millionaire? What if I end up in a beautiful mansion? The next thing I wanted to talk about is meditation. So people who struggle with anxiety don't love meditation. I understand what that's like, to feel like you're kind of going to burst, that it feels like a challenge, it feels painful, you don't want to face these feelings. I totally understand what that's like. I really do. However, there are different methods of meditation. So one method I want to talk to you about today, which is a method that I like teaching, that I specialize in, is called Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is also known as passive yoga or sleep yoga, or some people are calling it now non-sleep deep rest, NSDR. Andrew Huberman is talking about this, but there's lots of different scientific data now coming out supporting NSDR and Yoga Nidra. Dr. Richard Miller, who is one of my teachers, he specializes in treating veterans with extreme PTSD, helping them to heal their nervous system through Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is a passive form of yoga where you just lay down and you listen to the teacher guide you through a meditation. Here on YouTube, there's so many different beautiful Yoga Nidra tracks, different Yoga Nidra videos. You just basically carve out 10 to 60 minutes of your day to just lay there and allow your nervous system to be in bliss. It's a systematic body scanning meditation to bring you into the body. The more that you feel, the more your natural relaxation response kicks on. So the more sensations you put into your body, the more you're consciously putting, for example, right now, feel into the sensations of your hands. Notice how your hands feel. Notice the sensations in your hands. Notice that as you go into feeling your hands, your thinking about them decreases. And notice that as you feel into the palms of your hands, your mind slows down. So that's just a little taste of Yoga Nidra. I've got a free meditation for you down below. That's a free Yoga Nidra meditation to help your nervous system to settle. And that's also an excerpt from a live Yoga Nidra in my School of Transformation. Yeah, I hope this is helpful for you. And if you want any more information about body, mind, and spirit practices, you can join my School of Transformation. We're doing weekly group coaching sessions. I also am adding an additional call. So we're doing 2 calls a week in the school, plus a whole course catalog and so much more. Thank you so much for watching today. Take care of yourself, my friend. Breathe easy. You're all good. Everything's going to be okay. Everything is okay. I love you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.